tell me a little bit about Gretsch Drum Night. I've heard you've been trying to bring that back, and it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, well, it was in the 1960s, so this is the Fred Gretsch Jr. era, and it's my uncle's uncle, Fred Gretsch Jr., and by the late 1950s, Gretsch drums had really cornered the market on the jazz scenes for drummers. You know, guys like Shadow Wilson and Elvin Jones, and just incredible drummers. Yeah, exactly. And these were the endorsers for Gretsch drums. And at that time, there's this super interesting guy named Phil Grant working at Gretsch. And he was like he was the product guy. He was a drummer himself, and he was the artist relations guy. And Gretsch was in Brooklyn, and he was a New York guy, and he would go to all the jazz clubs and hang out with the drummers, and if they were good, so he knew the scene.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, and he really knew the scene on a very deep, profound level. He understood the jazz scene and the jazz market, and he would talk to drummers, and drummers really understood what he was, going for, and with the Gretsch products. And he came up with this idea to make an album of Gretsch drummers playing together, and it was an album with 4 different jazz players. And that they would do it at the Birdland Jazz Club, which was one of the hottest jazz clubs in New York. And so he had Art Blakey, Charlie Persip, Elvin Jones, and Philly Joe Jones. Here's a CD. I found a CD on eBay. It's a pretty rare album to find, because it was very successful and sold a lot, but they're just hard to find these days. It's not something. But
let alone the record, I'm sure there must be.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them on. You can kind of get them on eBay, but it's not so easy. They're not everywhere. But when you listen to it, it's just a drumming explosion, because it's they're soloing these guys, but they're also doing duets and switching off 4s and 8s, and it's phenomenal. And so that was the Gretsch Drum Night back then, and that was 1960, 1961. They were doing this, and so the concept now is to bring Gretsch Drum Night back. And to do clinics and performances with Gretsch drummers and get really good recordings of it. Back in the 60s, the medium of the day was records, right? And today, of course, we have social media for distribution and digital distribution. And so we want to get good clips and get good videos, good recordings of these drummers playing, and under the Gretsch Drum Night concept. And that way, we bring the whole idea, the history, and people a lot of people haven't heard of Gretsch Drum Night, but a lot of people have.
Well, knowing what I know about the Gretsch community, I'm sure that this will be a big hit, because the Gretsch community is very unique.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very unique, and it's people who are very passionate about the products they play, and Gretsch has always been kind of a niche and a special vibe, and people that are into Gretsch products are always very special people. Absolutely. And so that's what we're doing with Gretsch Drum Night.